people weren't sitting for the exam, and that's only like 200, right?
Yeah, it's like $299.
Yeah, I think back then it was only like 200, but anyhow. So that was too big of a hurdle for them to get over, and so that's when we implemented to pay for the exams. And we're seeing a huge improvement in both passing and just even sitting.
Just so they know, we did pay for it at one point, but we weren't making them sit for the exam before they finished. And we still had problems having them take the exam.
Wow.
The test would be paid for, they just could not get through the process of sitting for the exam. I don't quite know what it was, but we had a good 5-10 of them that we paid for the test, and they never showed up for the exam.
But the other good thing, which I think you did, and I recall that, they felt uncomfortable going someplace else, and by having the test done here, number one, you can control who's in that room, and you can ensure that they're there, but it also takes away the fear factor of how do I get to this place in Spartanburg, how do I, if my car goes out, what happens? So all of those things were overcome by bringing the testing here, and it was a great result for us. And Surge Tech, there's only, 2 states that require that they sit for the exam before they work, and it happens to be South Carolina. South Carolina, what's the other one?
I think it's Illinois.
There's only 2 states in the U.S., and luckily we had one of those states. And then moving on to the medical assisting RMA exam, that is not a requirement, but we have seen now with the change in healthcare over the last year, that if a student doesn't sit and achieve their RMA, then there's not as many jobs open for them, because there's new restrictions with the healthcare changes. And so almost every medical facility that uses an MA is looking for someone who has an RMA or a CMA. There's two certifications in that field, and everyone knows it better than I, so if you want to talk to it. But it's either a CMA or an RMA. I'm told they're kind of equivalent.
They are.
When you look at employment listings. But it's the exam that our students take if they go through the study group, which Karen Griffin manages, and we pay for that as well, which is about $95 or $100. So anyone who goes through the study and Karen says they're ready to take it, we pay for that exam. Because the salary difference is either $9 an hour or $12.50 an hour if you get your RMA, and over a course of a lifetime, that's pretty significant. Most of our students, if they study, pass it. If they study probably about 4 to 6 nights with you, right? They probably pass it.
I'd say 4 nights. We do once a week, and typically if they follow the study habits that I suggest, and we do practice tests also. So typically an average student who's ready to sit, after 4 weeks of study, they're ready. Then you get some who just, I don't know, out of timidity or whatever it may be, they just not ready. They kind of go away and we don't see them again, or, it's just amazing the fear. They get done, they go through the schooling and they go through the externship, and when it's time to take the exam, they kind of run. Some of them can't quite put up and run while that happens.
What percentage of assistants are taking the test?
It's 70-some%. It's not a high percent. I mean, I wish every student would, because, you have an opportunity to come and study and, get good structure on studying. It should be no problem. But, getting them to attend the study group and then getting them to take the exam, that takes away from the percentage each time.
Yeah, what is a medical assisting? I don't know what that means.
Medical assisting is a career that assists physicians in different aspects of medicine, different specialties, whether it be ophthalmology, OBGYN, every area and specialty of medicine. We work alongside physicians, handle all the clinical aspects in the medical office.
Okay,
It doesn't even have to be a medical office, it could be hospital, it could be any arena,
okay,
cause I worked in just about every arena. And like perform phlebotomy, draw the blood, do the EKGs, we also help in some assessments, you know. The only thing we're not, entitled to do obviously is diagnose, we can't diagnose, but we work alongside physicians in just about every, you know, capacity. You go to a physician's practice, or if you go to, get, an ER and get, triaged, more than likely, that's a medical assistant working
Okay.
on you.
okay.
So just to add to that, so OTA, nursing, and surge tech all have to have a pass rate that's that's set by their programmatic accreditor. So those programs have 2 accrediting bodies they have to respond to, and in surge tech there's 3. So if the OTA accrediting body says 80% placement, then that's what we have to live up to, even though ACICS says 70. So it's always the highest of the 2 standards that we have to live up to. And in surge tech, we have 3 accrediting bodies. Questions on that? Okay, all exciting stuff. Just a miscellaneous thing, transfer of credits to us and ours to others is really determined, what we take is determined by the dean and/or our center that's now reviewing transcripts. We try to be as reasonable as we can. We don't try to cut out credits because we know the students have paid for them elsewhere, but they have to be equivalent. So we have to determine that. Whether or not another school accepts our credits when a student moves on, either to get another degree or whatever, that's up to the receiving institution. And we never tell a student, you know, what they can expect. We don't know, okay? It really depends on the receiving institution. What I found down here that regionally accredited schools will not typically accept our credits. Okay, there's some exceptions to that, but we encourage the students to call the school that they plan to go to and find out that information. That's the advantage of having regional accreditation. They are more likely, regional to regional is an easy transition. It's not as easy from national to regional. Okay?
Karen,
Yes.
do we have an experience with people, with schools, graduate schools accepting our bachelor's students yet? That question has come up to me.
I don't think we have that experience. We've only had a few get their bachelor's. Drew, do you know? I
With
think we could
graduate
ask.
schools.
Yeah.
Well, the ones south, I believe, has a master's program because we had Antonia Norton. who
No,
went
I'm
on-
talking about a regional school accepting our bachelor's students.
Well, South is regional,
Yes, south is regional.
Okay,
but it's also our sisters.
Right.
right.
That's really the guidance we've given them is going on to south from that standpoint, but it's all specific to the school, so we haven't had that many people attempt, which is really the answer. I mean, the more that we have to go out there and try to, pursue it, if we find schools that'll take it, then we can start to market it that way and say, we've had success with this school if you're interested. Because I've had that question about law schools, some have said, would I be able to continue on, and at this point, the only law school that I know that's connected is in California, and that's not really feasible, but.
But isn't this true? And I'm gonna ask Michelle this, but Michelle said that one of our students either was a criminal justice or paralegal major here, went to Strayer, remember that? Earned their degree there, and they were applying to law school. So they had transitioned our credits into Strayer. Strayer's credits were transferring, and they were transferring it like a block transfer, like a degree transfer.
Strayer will.
Okay, so Strayer is one of them.
I guess the thing, my perception has always been if you've got a bachelor's degree, you've got a bachelor's degree. And when you apply for a master's program, but again, I don't know any experience, and that's what I'm curious about. Because when I've talked to students about our bachelor's program, I said, you get your bachelor's degree, be done. And then you should be able to go anywhere that you are qualified based on whatever entrance exam and your GPA. But again, I don't know. So that may be just my perception.
I don't know, to be honest with you, and I will tell you this, my experience 20 years ago in the north, I ran a school in the north, and we were nationally accredited, and the last 15 years I was there, we had Drexel would accept our entire associate degree as an associate degree, even though we were nationally accredited. So a student would go in being in their third year of study. 15 years prior to that, they wouldn't have touched us. So I found the difference between the North and the South, that the North has started to be more accepting of nationally accredited credits and started to take them more. I'm feeling a little bit of kickback in time here because we're seeing like USC Upstate won't take them, even Greenville Tech won't take our credits. And I mean, so, and it's a way to hurt us, if you know, because it's hurting our students. They're spending money and time and, you know, the whole thing. But again, I think Strayer's one of them, and there's Converse, I think.
Concordia University.
Chamber, okay, yeah, we're starting to see more people, and I'm trying to get a hold of people.
USC Aiken and Lancaster will too.
Really? That's interesting. That's interesting. I think USC Aiken took them.
But usually for graduate school, you have to take an entrance exam. And they base most of their acceptance on that entrance exam, like an MCAT or a
Right.
GRE.
Right.
Usually for secondary.
So my answer is, we can never promise a student. We can send them to career services where they're getting more and more feedback on what is working and what isn't working, kind of gathering that information. And then the other miscellaneous item is teachers' credentials are set by the accrediting body. So ACICS has standards that we need to live by when we hire our faculty. That's true of SACs. They're a bit different. So as I mentioned, our school looks more for experience in the field as well as a degree. But SACS is looking for degree. And they could care if you worked in the field. That has nothing to do with the hiring process. So just, that's one of the other criteria that they set for us.
One of the things that the National Accreditation allows us to do is, in many of the classes that you guys teach, if you have a master's degree in really anything, and 18 hours credit in that field, or in that program, so to speak. So if you have an MBA and 18 hours in marketing, you can teach in marketing. However, some other accreditation would say you have to have a specific master's in marketing to even touch a marketing class.
And so all of these guidelines we live by because of our accrediting body. These all aren't made up by me. So then I just want, I'll try to get out here soon, but compliance, internal and external auditing. Okay, so I live by compliance. It's compliance. And we're really, believe it or not, a very, very compliance-driven organization. I once hired a CFO who had worked in the medical field, and he came to work with me and was handling financial aid and those kinds of things. And he said to me that our industry is as regulated as the healthcare industry, and it has to do with federal dollars that the healthcare industry receives as well as us, meaning we get federal dollars through financial aid. And we are so highly regulated, it's hard to even imagine. That financial aid group, they live by, you know, the attention to detail that they have to pay every single day, or we would get in trouble. So we are compliance and audit driven. Sometimes it drives us all crazy, but we track and follow compliance from the initial phone call that we receive from a student to placement and every step along the way. Just give you a couple of examples. All of our ADAs are shopped on the phone, listen to their phone calls at least, I'd say, once a week, every one of them. And then I get a report whether or not, as does the Senior Director of Admissions, to tell us if there were any infractions on the phone. So if one of our ADAs would ever say, You can get a great